All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kathleen Titus, the race director for the Philadelphia Marathon weekend, and this is your summer training like a champion. And we're going to kick things off here in a few minutes with some of our champions themselves, some faces you might recognize from previous years being here, and we have some new faces. But first, I'm going to give you a couple housekeeping notes about the Philadelphia Marathon weekend. We kick off on Friday, November 20th with our expo. I want everybody to stay tuned because we are going to be having some expanded expo hours this year due to the number of runners we have coming in and making sure that we plan accordingly for everyone. And then Saturday morning, we have the Dietz and Watson Philadelphia Half Marathon kicking off at 7 a.m. And 11 a.m., we have the Rothman Orthopedic 8K. Then on Sunday, November 22nd, we have the TIAA Philadelphia Marathon at 7 a.m. and our kids run will take place at 10 a.m. So I want to welcome everyone in here. And right now, I'm going to introduce a few people. We have one that's going to be popping in a little bit. I think it'll be a surprise and a welcome surprise to many coming in here. But next, we have starting off, I'm going to start with one of our returning champions, Dakotah Popehn, who is the 2024 Olympian and three-time champion of Grandma's Marathon. Dakotah was with us last year, ran. She's going to be talking a little bit about that and what she's doing. And then new is Nathan Martin, who is the fastest American-born Black runner to ever win the marathon and won LA just a few months ago. So welcome, Nathan. Welcome,
Welcome,
Dakotah.
Dakota.
And there he is. Look at that. What
Hey,
timing.
how are you, Kathleen?
I am good. And now we have a very familiar face. And here comes the big surprise, our drum roll if we had one. We have Meb Keflezighi joining us back again. Meb was last with us, I think, in 2019, Meb?
2019 absolutely was my first time, and I had a thrill of a lifetime, and I was able to come back a few other times.
Yeah, and again, another champion, Olympic silver medalist, New York and Boston champion. So Meb just said this is definitely going to be the summer training like a champion webinar that we're doing between you, Nathan, and Dakotah. So I'm excited to kick things here off with all three of you. And again, we have two returning, you, Meb, who've been with us a few times, Dakotah, and then Nathan's a newbie coming in. So we've got some fresh faces coming to the party this fall.
You guys, Nathan, welcome to the family. Philadelphia does a great job inviting us back and giving back to the sport that we all love. And Dakota, great to see you again and be able to just cherish this moment as we get together for the summer training and get ready for November. It's gonna be fun.
So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
looking forward to it.
Yeah, so let's hear. Dakotah, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to, coming off of Grandma's win, and then Nathan, we're going to tune in to learn a little bit more about you post LA and what you have on the docket and what your training is looking like this summer.
Yeah, the Grandma's Marathon just celebrated their 50th anniversary. And because of that, and because I'm a Minnesotan myself, I felt like it was really important that I run the marathon this year after coming off of Boston. And really had one and only goal, and that was to win. So I was super grateful to come away with that for my third win, but now I am right back into Chicago marathon training. So, kind of just going marathon training this year. And like many of you, putting in a lot of miles in this very hot and humid weather that we're having. But it's kind of like my favorite time to train. So, we are all suffering and getting stronger together.
That is true. Nathan, how about you? 1/100th of a second win in LA, which had to be absolutely epically amazing. What's been happening since then for you, and what are you planning for coming up?
yeah, so it's been a whirlwind, honestly, coming off of LA. A lot of stuff I was not used to, honestly, all good. But definitely it's interesting getting back into training, coming off of that, especially like summer training, because that's a time where you can kind of test yourself, see where you're at, get into a whole bunch of races. And so this summer, I've definitely kind of been pushing paces. I've hopped into some 10Ks, some half marathons, just trying to see where I'm at. And yeah, overall, it's been really good. And so preparing for a fall marathon, haven't nailed down which one exactly yet, but hopefully stay tuned for that for sure.
And yeah, it's just honestly just gaining as much fitness as I can. Seeing everyone who's obviously making jumps and improving. It's like, hey, I want to kind of get on that bandwagon and make some big jumps myself. So we're just focusing on that kind of stuff and yeah, testing limits. So
And Meb, we haven't seen you for a while. I know I get to talk to you and we talk all things Philly. Meb's a big sports fan, so of course the news of LeBron James coming and his Sixers stuff going on there. What have you been working on? And what are you excited about coming back to Philly for, besides
Oh,
sports?
oh, I'm excited because the community in Philadelphia does a great job. They're be able to support and understand the marathon, the basketball, the football, and now with LeBron going there for the titles, the big pressure, but at the same time, there's a capable team to assemble. And for me, I'm a few minutes late. I am at the mall in Chicago with my wife and daughter, and we're going to the national conference for state legislators to be able to go to an evening tonight, and that's why I was like, oh, I missed that one, and then here we are. So background is, to be able to enjoy each other and be time of the family, and I'm so excited to be back for the Philadelphia Marathon now. I went there 3 times. I had a great time. I don't want to miss it, but I have to do some family obligation. I stepped away for a couple of years, but I'm delighted to be there now. People are asking me what's your next event. Next event, I'm like to throw Philadelphia there. It's been mind-boggling. We had a 5K this morning. That's had a meniscus tear that I'm rehabbing from. So if you've been following me on social media or running, and I haven't had that, but I am happy to do 5K. This is the beginning for another great things to happen.
So, well, then we hope to see you maybe in the 8K out
There
there
you
for,
go.
some charity reasons. What have you. Going back over Dakotah, talk to some of the people out there. We have a ton of first timers, and we just keep seeing. Obviously, running is in a boom. A lot of first timers out there. We have more this year than we even had last year. What are some tips? You know, Philadelphia, you've run the half, running again this year. What are some things that you love about Philadelphia? And then what are some things that people should be thinking about? We're still in the marathon training phase. September, we're really going to start to crank up the half. But what are some words of wisdom you have for the audience out there today?
Yeah, I mean, get ready for a great time in Philadelphia. I really wasn't sure what to expect last year being my first year. For the half, I would say the best words of wisdom I could give is that there are some hills. It's important to be ready for a little hilly of a course. But I think it's very fair and you can still run very fast as long as you're prepared for a little bit of up and down. And I ran, I believe, the first 8 or 9 miles of the marathon. And wow, was it so fun. And I was so impressed. It's a fairly early morning, but there were so many fans out. You are not going to feel lonely during that marathon ever. And there's such a great crowd that comes out. So looking forward to being a part of all of that again and, maybe jumping into the marathon for the first 8 or 9 miles again.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were like, wait a minute, is she competing? There she is. She's lining up. So it definitely created a lot of buzz. You missed that Meb from the stage, but it was really cool to see you out there, to see Jared out there on marathon day. So I know a lot of people are wondering where's she going to pop up. I'm like, well, one of them. She will definitely be out there with one of them. Nathan, have you been to Philadelphia before? And what excites you about coming in this November?
I haven't, but honestly, it's just one of those cities where there's a lot attached to it, and just being able to get that experience for myself is going to be really cool. I also coach a couple athletes kind of in that general area. So maybe being able to link up with them and them give me a kind of a tour of the area and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of the biggest thing is just the experience, connecting with people, all that kind of stuff. So.
Awesome. Well, you'll get lots of opportunities with that. I think Philly has over 72, almost by the time we get to marathon, we probably have close to 100 different run clubs and crews, which is
Oh,
much
wow.
different than Meb when you were here. I mean, clubs and crews were just starting to pop, and now we're seeing them everywhere coming along. So hopefully you'll get some great tours. If not, Meb will tell you where to get the best cheesesteaks. He will take you on that tour with his buddy Joe. Joe will definitely is looking forward to seeing you to take you around town.
I miss those moments with Kathleen and Joe, and it's just fun to be able to go to the Philly Chick Steakhouse and be able to just enjoy and be able to just, it's the community event, you know, yes, we run, we come, but the celebration, the camaraderie, and I have made such a great friends, you know, whenever the Philadelphia Eagles are playing or, you know, 76ers, we text each other beyond just the finish line, beyond the cheering. So I'm looking for the cheesesteak now.
Yeah,
Is
we
it?
all are. So we're getting some questions already coming in. So I'm going to pop this over to Dakotah and Nathan just in the training phase. We have some folks that kind of are like, okay, these hot days are really hot, and just talk a little bit about what you're doing and how are you adjusting your mileage, especially on the long run days with the temperatures being as hot as they are. Could you give some insight just on your fueling? Has that changed? From now in the heat to in the colder time when you feel like you can eat more food versus in these hotter months where sometimes you don't feel like it, the importance of that nutrition and how to take it in. So Nathan, I'll start with you on this one, then we'll go over to Dakotah. A little bit about your fueling and nutrition.
Yeah, so I would say preparation is so important. Even if it's not a hot day, it's how do you get ready for your workouts? How do you get ready for your runs? Obviously the heat can be good because heat adaptations definitely can give you a boost in just your abilities, all that kind of stuff. But pending the situation, I would say the biggest thing is just to adjust paces. And if it's like brutally hot out, like over 90 or something like that, don't be afraid to kind of go on a treadmill, and just make sure that, hey, if quality is what you need, then find a way to get it in. But making sure that you're well hydrated before. I take a lot of electrolytes. I take Precision, which is really good just because they can dial in on exactly how much you need as far as like water to like sodium levels. But just making sure all that's good and staying on top of just how you're feeling during, because it's one thing to hey, I'm drinking enough or I took all this nutrition, but you definitely have to listen to your body as well. And so yeah, just kind of all over the place with it, but mainly just being smart, listening to your body and taking in what you need to take in. So
And then I'll go Dakotah and then I'll pop down to Meb.
Yeah, really everything Nathan said, making sure you're getting in a lot of electrolytes. And then, running isn't just about the fuel that you're taking in during the run or before the run. It's about the rest of the day. And sometimes when your body temperature gets really high, I know I can feel like it's just hard to fuel properly for the entire rest of the day. So making sure you're keeping your fridge stocked up with like cooler foods, like who doesn't love some ice cold watermelon? Berries, smoothies, things like that to make sure you're getting your caloric needs in while you're doing this heavy marathon training. And also, if you can withstand it, like a cold shower after a run can kind of help bring that body temperature down so that maybe you'll feel more apt to eat later in the day, and doing what you can to just stay cool after the run.
Meb?
Well, Dakota and Mark, Nathan already said all those things, but couple things. I think routine is important as it gets in the summer, it gets hot. So just figure it out when you want to be able to go train. And then also accountability. Find a training partner, because if you have a training partner, you will find the time and place to meet. It doesn't have to be everybody be in a different program, but having to meet somebody is going to force you to get up earlier or meet up. And that's how the work is done. And the other thing is just hydration. Wear a hat, put a water on your head, on your neck, and the palm of your hand to keep cooler. If you could do that constantly, you're going to be fine. And finally, you are what you put in your system. So the best way is to make sure you hydrate. Be cognitive of it. To just say, hey, am I hydrating? Am I doing this right? Because if you can hydrate the tissues and the muscle is going to be happier, and that means you're going to be excited. Back in the days, it used to be run that extra mile, run that extra mile. You don't have to do that. You just got to be wise and smart and be able to just put in the work. And if you put in the work, you be motivated, and having the Philadelphia on your calendar, that's going to get you out of the door immediately.
Absolutely. And we do, for those that are asking, we did change out our hydration partner. We do have dry water out on the course, which adds potassium and magnesium. And we have e-gels this year. So our gel stops this year, you'll be able to pick up e-gel. So if you are looking to train with some of the items that we have on the marathon course, you will have both dry water, e-gels, and we have Coupa as our training partner app. We do have Jarrett Ward that does some coaching and Lauren, and we're going to bring them on the next one. But as far as training app too, if you don't have a training partner, check out the Coupa app. We have that on the website there. Now, this next question I kind of chuckled at, and it's about sleep habits. And Dakotah, you've seemed to gain some attention with taping your mouth. So I'm going to ask, like, how do you go about breathing? And I'm going to kick it off to you first about that. And then the importance of sleep. And again, whether it's the summertime and you're hot or just race day, but talk to me a little bit about that, the breathing, because we have some folks that are really curious on that.
Yeah, I do tape my mouth shut because if you're able to breathe through your nose while you're sleeping, you can get into actually quite a deeper sleep. And that deeper sleep is where you're going to get all of your muscle recovery, all the recovery from all the hard work that you're doing throughout the day happens. And just an important note, I'm a very big lover of sleep. Like sleep is my favorite topic actually to talk about. You get almost all of your deep sleep very early in your night of sleep. So having a consistent bedtime routine is incredibly important to making sure you're going to bed at the same time. Is going to help you maximize how much deep sleep you can get. And the more deep sleep you get, the more muscle recovery that happens at night. So in the summer, obviously, it can get pretty warm. I am a Lagoon sleep user. A lot of us elite athletes tend to use Lagoon, and they have cooling pillows, which I think helps. And I see ads all the time for like cooling mattress toppers. Anything to keep you a little bit cooler through the summer is definitely going to help. Even in the winter, I like a bedroom that's like 60 degrees.
Meb, I'll shoot down to you and then I'll go up to Nathan. Thoughts on sleep, breathing, how did you get yourself into that rhythm? How much sleep were you looking to take?
Sleep is important, but for me, I was not a napper. Even though I had as a professional athlete, during the day, because if I sleep during the day, I wouldn't get my consecutive 7 hours or so sleep, so it get interrupted. But at the same time, I think by running a lot of miles or being in a routine, going to bed early, getting up early in the morning, doing that workout is important. And, now I'm busy and I'm on the go. As soon as I put my head in the pillow, I go to sleep immediately. But before it was like I have to read books and things like that because I take like caffeine, coffee on my hard days and things like that, which means like you're all wired up from the caffeine, but also wired up from the endorphin that you had a great workout or long run and things like that. So you have to find a rhythm that works for you. And for me, it was like visualizing myself at the water, hearing the waves to kind of before calm my body down. And then also, if I can't go to sleep, I try to read not an interesting book because you're going to be up later. So just try and find something that will not be so much interesting that will put you to sleep. But the sleep is important for recovery purpose and then also for mental and then also just to get, dreams, so when you have heavy sleep, when you think something is important, like finishing a marathon or completing a marathon. And for me, sometimes I have working out when I go to sleep. I remember before I won New York City Marathon, September something like 21st or something, I woke up and I tell my wife I had a dream I won the New York City Marathon. And she goes, well, the Great North Run was happening. And I'm like, you know what happened, the Great North Run? And I'm like, no, what happened? And she's like, Martin Lell and somebody else ran super fast. And then I said, oh, say goodbye to that dream. Then I thought about it, processed it. And then a minute later, I said, well, they picked too soon. They got to do it on November 1st. So, we do have those dreams when you go to sleep and think about how important the races are. Doesn't matter the distance, 5K, 10K, half marathon, your own goals. But if you do that so many times, great things will happen on race day. So visualize what you are doing the day before you go to sleep, but also when you rest up, prioritize sleep to get the best out of yourself in training, in competition, and also just life in general.
Awesome. Nathan?
Yeah, so just kind of piggybacking off of Meb a bit, routine is super, super important. And so one thing I tell my athletes, because I coach a lot of high schoolers, and so sleep probably is not their highest priority, And so, just understanding how important it is sometimes to people is really good. And so, one analogy I kind of give is that you don't get better when you do the workout. Fundamentally, when you work out, you're tearing your body down. And so, if you think about it as a building, right? The workout is like the bulldozer that kind of tears the body apart or tears the building down. And so when you sleep, that's when all the workers kind of come in. They say, what the heck just happened? And then they rebuild the building better. So the longer you sleep, the more time they have to be able to figure out how do we adjust. And then obviously even throwing in nutrition, better nutrition will give them better strength to be more efficient at the job, all that kind of stuff. And so it's just understanding one, how important it is, and then making sure you're in a good routine to make sure you can pull off having good sleep. So,
Yeah, and I think for the first timers, that's critical because all of a sudden, if you haven't run a marathon, you haven't trained for it, you don't understand how disruptive it is to your day. Somebody could be working 9 to 5, and then do I race? Do I run in the morning? Do I run in the evening? What is that like on the weekend? I think that's a really tough thing. Probably one of the toughest to try to regulate there is how much rest recovery and how important it is, although you're trying to squeeze it in, but really trying to balance what your day looks like and what your evenings now look like. So talking about that with first timers, because we get a lot of people saying first time, first time. I'm trying to give fun tips for all the first timers out there. Let's talk a little bit about visualization. And what is it that you all do? Because I know as a first timer, it's really good to start setting that seed, as you all had said now for the fall. But how often, and Meb, you had talked to this, do you go through visualizing exercises, and what does that look like now compared to race day?
I'm a big proponent of visualization. It doesn't have to be a race, but when, for example, when I was getting ready for the Boston Marathon, I visualized myself making right on Herbert, the name of the street, and then left on Wilson. It doesn't have to be mile 17 or the end of the marathon, but when you think about it, I want to be able to do this when I'm, training. And then when there's a hill, you think about, okay, I'm running the hill. So if you are familiar with living in Philadelphia, I know the course is, if mile 9 is going to be hilly, whenever that hill comes up, mile 3, mile 1 of your run, he said, this is mile 9 of the Philadelphia Marathon. It gives you a sense of purpose to be able to say, hey, I'm placing myself into that. When you do that so many, times, I visualize more like 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks out versus the week off. The week off is just relax. You've done the visualization, you've done the work, relax. You reap the benefit of your hard training on that day, on the week. So, I don't, and like I said earlier, sometimes I do visualization the night before I go to sleep. Oh man, that was a great tempo run. I feel like I could run this pace or this time on race day. And you do that, and then you have a peace of mind because you're not just partying out the night before after a hard run. He said, hey, I done the work. I did my normal tech, or I hydrated, I ate good. Now I visualize that, and then the next day you will be able to just wake up and say, hey, excited for what holds in the future. So do it month. I did one mistake when I was in college. I visualized my race the night before. I stayed up all night. I really was drenched, run the race. And the race the next day did not go. I went flat as a pancake. I had so much trouble. But I learned that early in my career, and I asked Steve Scott, the great American miler, hey, what if this happened to me, what should I do? And he said, visualize month out, weeks out, not the night before. So those are the things that you want to be able to do.
Dakotah?
Yeah, I visualize pretty much every day out on the run, whether it's during a hard workout and it helps to have course knowledge. So if you're a first timer, I would highly suggest that you go to the website, take a look at the course map, see where the hills are, try to get a good understanding of what is that hill going to look like to the best of your abilities if it's your first time, but so that you can focus on that during workouts. But sometimes I think it's important also to visualize while I'm running smooth, running easy. So like if I start to struggle and tense up and get tight, I try to imagine myself running at the most smooth and relaxed version of myself as possible to try to kind of calm all my muscles down. Like you don't want to be the runner who's out there grimacing really hard and shoulders up really high and tight. just trying to stay really, really smooth. And sometimes the only way to control that is by imagining yourself looking like that. So I would say visualizing every single day is super, super important. And you're out there for so long every day. We're doing so much training. What else are you going to do when you're out on the run?
I'm going to switch this up for you to answer, Nathan, there. So
Oh, man.
if your training pace isn't matching your time goal, how do you know when to adjust your race day plan and when to trust that your body just isn't at the race day pace yet? So I'm going to kick that
Um,
off to you.
yeah, so you're fundamentally saying just like if you're not quite where you want to be, like how do you adjust, heading into the race type thing?
Yeah, like if your pace is matching your goal and you're out there and you're trying to train hitting that pace, how do you know when you need to adjust the goal? Or is it the body just hasn't adapted yet? And I'll go around to all of you to ask that. Does that
Yeah, so like I think, without getting too complex, you have like your fitness and your abilities, right? And then you have like your race readiness. And so a lot of the times I know I'm like very fit, but it's like how well can I like actually manifest that in workouts? How ready am I towards race day? And so it's like it's one thing to have a goal where you're I don't know, maybe you're a 250 marathoner, but you want to go 220. Well, that's a huge difference. And so maybe your actually abilities can't get you there. But let's say your PR is 250 and you're trying to go 245 and all your workouts are showing that hey, you should be able to do it. But you get to the bigger workouts and it's not quite there. It's just having confidence that all the fitness and all the things that are showing up should be showing that you can do it. So honestly, it just depends on where you're at in training ultimately. But I would say, yeah, for me, it's just trusting that I know where I can get to, I know where I'm at, and just putting in those final workouts to kind of manifest the fitness on a race day. So I don't know if I answered the question or not, but.
Yeah, yeah, that was just one that came in. Meb, do you have feedback on that one? If someone is looking at a certain goal, but they're not holding that pace right now, when to say, okay, you've peaked, you're not going to hit that, you need to adjust or hang on a little bit longer and you'll make it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having goal is important. You set the goal. You do goal for Philadelphia or weekly, monthly, and you go from there. And not every workout is going to go smoothly or home run. So the best thing to do is you have to be flexible. You have to be able to adjust to the best that you can. Sometimes weather, sometimes wind, sometimes just you don't have it, because work or stress or other things can happen. But the most important thing is effort. If you put the effort, you give it 85, 75%, that's okay. So number one thing you want to do is don't try. We coaches give advice, but you're going to be the best executive. I have an athlete that I call it executive decision because if you've been fighting a cold or if you feel something, you'd rather just take that day off or that week off and get to the sideline healthy and strong and 95% or 90% fit than try to do too much and not get stuck to the starting line. So be a good judgment call on your own and be able to just push when you need to push. And things are not going your way, that's okay because tomorrow is different, next week is different. You just have to collaborate a little bit of what you need to be adjustments.
Dakotah, have you experienced anything like this? Have some advice in here when you're training and you're like, ooh, okay, when do we make an adjustment? Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we're in a tough spot right now just because it is so warm, and I'd be lying if I'd said I was hitting my goal paces right now in training, but I know that my effort is there. So when I think about Philly, I'd say about a month out. Hopefully things are cooling down wherever you live by that point. You never know. But if you're not able to hit those paces about a month out when it's, more temperate weather, maybe that's when you're starting to adjust your goals because you should never go into a race asking your body to do something that you haven't practiced doing over and over again. It's not most likely not going to come together perfectly in a race if you have it, like if you want to be running 8-minute miles. If you've not ever been able to hold that for more than a couple miles in practice, it's going to be unrealistic to try to go out on race day and do that. And you want to set yourself up for success and have reasonable goals so that when you cross the finish line, you feel like you won in some sort of way. So, right now, I would say be focused solely on effort on these hot and humid days. And then as the race gets closer, maybe within a month or 6 weeks out, you can start honing in on what you think your appropriate goals should be.
Yeah, that's a good one. So what are some, we always talk about the successes there. What's one mistake that you would tell someone who's new, like, oh boy, I made that. Don't do that. Is there anything that you would, tell someone, no, learn from this. Definitely don't do that. And Meb, I'll start with you this time.
That's a great question, especially first timers. One is don't run your race pace on long runs. People think, okay, I got to get ready for a race. I'm going to do my long run race pace. That's a mistake personally. Especially if, you can go run faster than race pace on tempos, but don't do your long run. Give it enough time. Just go about a minute less than predicted pace that you're going to do, and then time on your feet. Put time on your feet. Feel comfortable going through. And on race day is pace. Don't, like Dakotah said, don't do something that you have not done, because you're going to see somebody in front of you, the side of you, and behind you or forward, and say, run your race. If you can run your race and finish the last 5K or the last mile, your fastest, it's hard to do because you have caffeine, your body is rested, and the crowd is going to carry you through. It's hard to hit the brakes, but you have to do it saying, hey, I want to feel good mile 18. I want to feel good mile 17. And after that, get faster and faster. You're going to have a complete different experience versus hitting the wall at 14 or 15 and struggle in. And that's not the way to run a marathon.
Dakotah, Nathan?
Yeah, I'd say a huge mistake I made my first marathon was just having like one goal, a black and white goal, essentially. Like either it was a pass or a fail for me in my first marathon, and I failed because I didn't give myself options to succeed, essentially. So I would say going into it with ABC goals, your A goal is going to be the day that is perfect, everything goes perfectly. You reach the limits of whatever your fitness is. A B goal should be very attainable, something that can happen on an okay day. And then your C goal should, in my opinion, in a marathon, always just be to finish, because it's a long ways. And anytime that you can cross that finish line, that should be a win. And for my first marathon, I didn't even consider finishing to be a success unless I finished in a certain time. And that's just not setting yourself up for success, as you might slow down as the race goes on. All the alarm bells in your head are gonna go off and say, it's not going how I want. What should I do now? So just setting yourself up to be as successful as possible on race day is important.
Nathan?
Yeah, I say just be patient. When I was younger, I would really chase flashy workouts, hitting like really crazy times to be like, oh wow, I did an amazing job. But I learned the hard way that, it's awesome to have a really good workout and feel like you crushed it. But if you raced your workout or if you kind of raced in your workout, you kind of leave it there and you don't have what you need for the actual race. And so that's happened more times than it probably should have. And yeah, even with my athletes, I'll tell them I'd rather you come off the workout knowing you had way more left and maybe we could have got more out of it, but being ready for race day than to be like, oh my goodness, that was the most impressive thing I saw, and then you can't do anything on the actual day. So, yeah, just being patient. So,
I'm going to talk a little bit now because we have a lot of first timers and heart rate. All of you and anybody that's competed, I know it happened to me the first time competing any race distance, how the body starts to viscerally react when you know the finish line is in sight. You all have had this because there's got to be the first one, and then you're winning for the first time. But regardless, all of us are going to have a heart rate spike when you know that oh my gosh, I just did something incredible. Can you each talk a little bit about this, especially from a first timer, that anxiety and how you regulate it yourself to get to the finish line, knowing that you come off of these hard miles where you're like, okay, the wheels feel like they might be falling off to, oh my gosh, I'm about to accomplish something I've never accomplished in my life. And that feeling and how you kind of regulate it yourself as you got near the finish line. Meb,
Yeah,
give it to you first.
the finish line is a magical place for everyone, no matter where you are in the front of the pack, the middle of the pack, or the back of the pack. It's just be able to just push to the body. Your dreams are becoming a reality, what you visualize, what you work hard for. But at the same time, the finish line, you got to measure right. You know, sometimes you're super excited. And I was talking to one of the doctors, people have caffeine, they have that excitement, and then your mind is racing. It's like, I can't believe this happened. So a lot of incidents can happen. But what you can do is control yourself. I want to finish strong. Good for the camera. Soak it into what the crowd is saying. Fist pumping, whatever that works for you, and be able to just get finish line. You know, I have fortunate enough to win a medal in New York and Boston, but also been where I struggle to the race, and the finish is meaningful for each purpose that you have. Sometimes, like Dakotah said, ABC, we all have ABC goals, and sometimes they're attainable and sometimes it's not. But finishing is important. It sets you up for the next race and says, hey, if I can do this on a bad day, imagine what I could do on a good day. So those are the things that you want to be able to visualize. And heart rate is going to go up regardless because you fatigue mind over body. Your body's saying, screaming at you. Sometimes I said the mind says go, the body says no. But you have to push through it, and you do something less than 1% do. So positive talking is important, and getting to that finish line. You know, heart rate are important, but at the same time, feeling what you feeling from the crowd or for the family wants or support is a magical moment. Enjoy celebrating, get to that finish line because, as you know, it takes a lot of hard work, perseverance, and time management, accountability, and it's a beautiful thing.
Nathan, I'm going to come over to you and then I'll go Dakotah. Talk a little bit about heart rate for you and that finish line.
Yeah, so no, 100%. I try and embrace that moment every single time. It's one of those things where I want to make sure that I kind of left it all out there. And so when I can feel the finish line coming, it's like, hey, am I giving what I have to this? And most of the time it turns out well. Sometimes, I get a little bit ambitious and kind of fade a bit. But for me, it's like this moment where your body, everything is telling you, hey, you're almost done. And I try and capture that moment the best, I can personally. But yeah, definitely it's one of those things as well where it's like figure out, when you can start, just giving it your all. Figure out, hey, am I a person who I'm going to take this moment to make sure I get through the finish line, or am I a person where I'm going to use it to give everything, even if I, collapse 50 meters before. And I don't recommend the 50 meters before part, but regardless, embrace that moment because the race, any race is going to be challenging. There's going to be moments where you want to give up. And that finish line usually is a moment where your body wakes up and says, hey, we got something left. And so it's a chance to embrace that and really push and finish giving whatever you have. So,
And Dakotah, how do you regulate that coming through that finish line area, the final stretch?
Yeah, I think about my final turn at the Olympic trials. It's about 800 meters to go. And my brain immediately went, you're going to make an Olympic team. But then I had to quiet it down and say, it's still 800 meters. Like I can't be, I saw somebody fall in the last 10 meters of the Olympic trials on that day. So you don't want to overexert yourself before the finish line. So I just kind of kept my eyes on the tape and decided I'm not going to let myself think about that moment until I'm a step or two away from it, which is actually very unlike me. I'm normally kind of hyping up the crowd, waving to fans and friends, but when it's such a meaningful big day, I think it's really important to stay within yourself for as long as possible. And you can celebrate those last few steps and you can celebrate the whole rest of the day, but trying to just stay within yourself until you are to this like in safety is really important.
Yeah. I would say that last mile, a lot of people have that emotional, and it's normal. It's normal. And just try to tell all the new people, you're going to have this high and this low. And when the high comes up, your heart rate's going. A lot of people, I had some questions here just about heart rate monitors and do you work in heart rate zones? Know that you have that and just kind of calm yourself down, take some breaths. You're going to make it to the finish line. But be prepared because I think for some people, like, oh my gosh, my heart was racing and then they either walk or, but be mindful of that. That's just a natural occurrence that happens when you're doing something new for the first time, like excitement. So let's talk a little bit about that heart rate zone. And do you all train in a certain heart rate zone, heart rate monitors, or is that something you do and then race day, you're kind of just going by the feel of it?
I do use a heart rate monitor and I don't really train in heart rate zones. I use that information more to look at trends and see, okay, well, my heart rate, is normally this on an easy pace, but today it was higher or lower, maybe depending on my training strain. But I don't really use it to determine how fast I'm going to go or how slow because there are some out like the temperature on a warm day. And I don't look at it at all while I'm racing because I think it's super normal that your heart rate might be a little bit higher than you're used to seeing on a race day because of that anxiousness, maybe extra caffeine, all those, the crowd being there might have your heart rate a little higher. So for me personally, I throw that out the window on race day and just choose to look at it after the fact.
Awesome. Nathan?
Yeah, so I train way more off of effort. Like, don't get me wrong, like heart rate is very important because it gives you good data, kind of like Dakotah was saying, kind of afterwards, all that kind of stuff. But usually I'll have paces, and then those paces kind of give me an idea of how I should be feeling. But if I'm feeling a little bit better on a day, and let's say, my threshold, let's say it's 440. If I'm feeling a little bit better on a day, maybe I'll go 435 or a little bit worse, 445. But yeah, it's one of those things where I want to be able to get into a race and know what that effort looks like. Because the last thing you want to do is like be in a race, look at your heart rate and be like, oh, it's 185 and kind of shut down when maybe you have way more to give, but you were kind of following like whatever your watch was saying or whatever was going on. And so it's way more, hey, can you figure out the effort you need to be at and whether or not you need to push past that, stay conservative. Because I think overall that's going to serve you better. But definitely newer runners, I would say it's definitely a tool you can use that can definitely help you get to that. But I'd say ultimately don't rely on it as if it's the end all be all. But
Meb, any thoughts on that?
It's important to pay attention to the body and heart rates and what you can and can't do. And as long as you have done the preparation that you are capable of doing, heart rates are great because it gives you what you can and can't do. And the pacing is important to be able to just do the best that you can.
And when you talk about pace, we have some people asking, how do you break up your pace? Is it something that you start slower and you get faster, or are you all, and we know that sometimes it's a little different for everybody. As professionals, it might be we're going out and we're going to keep this pace the entire way. But think about for new people, what are some thoughts there around pace from when they start the race to how they break it up in the middle and towards the end?
If I could go on this one first, it would be pacing is important. You rather start slow and finish strong. I had a high school coach that would tell me if I went out too fast than predicted pace, he would make me keep doing it until I got it right. So you rather just start really slow, strong, finish because there's no harm in finishing strong, but you want to complete the workout and say, hey, I done this versus I don't know if my body can take it or my body cannot take it. So it is very important to start slow and finish strong.
I agree. I think it's going to leave you with a better race experience also if you're starting more relaxed and you get to mile 16 and you go, I don't feel so bad. And you start passing a bunch of people and you feel really good at the end. You're going to want to do another marathon. You're going to be really excited about what you had left in the tank versus being the person that you're passing who's really going backwards. That's a really miserable way to race. I think we can all probably sit here knowing those moments where you went out too fast and you start to suffer way too soon. And speaking from experience, it's much more fun to finish fast.
Yeah, no, I'd piggyback off of that, and yeah, just being conservative, honestly, is the biggest thing. And so like it's super easy to be like, hey, I have these goals, I want to achieve whatever. But it's how you get there that kind of matters. And there's some people or some newer runners who are going to be in some amazing shape. Maybe they'll have a coach that's a little bit more aggressive, and maybe they might want to try being aggressive in a race, and it could pay off. But I guarantee you that you're going to have way more people who are going to have great races, being conservative, cutting it down, than you are who are going to be being aggressive. Like, you can be aggressive and end up running an amazing time, but more often than not, you'll probably have some more regrets coming from that line of doing things. So.
Yeah. Now I'm going to flip the tables. Do you guys have any questions for me about race weekend?
I think something people would want to hear is like you could talk a little bit about how many like activations are going on. Like if you're coming to Philadelphia for this race weekend and you're bringing your family, I feel like there's so much that you could choose to do, and I think you should choose to do rather than hole up in your hotel room and just wait for your race.
Yes, we have a lot of activations, more this year probably than any year. We'll start with a kickoff, an official kickoff on the weekend before. And then our goal is to really engage. We have a lot of run clubs and crews that are doing different types of shakeouts, meetups. We'll be putting together a whole cheer zone area, but we'll be having activations throughout the week, leading up to to Friday, including our own shakeout run on Friday at some time, and then Saturday going in, coming in and taking part of the expo. But I would say take a look at the race app, the Philadelphia Marathon. It's on iOS and Android. Philadelphia Marathon weekend, we will be loading in the race guide and putting in there all types of things of events that you can go and take part in for race week. And then you'll also get a chance to see our brand ambassadors. They'll put up a list of things that you have to see and do. Like you have to go to Reading Terminal and try this food, or if you want to check out shopping, you want to go to this area. Which you want to do all of this if you're coming in from out of town. We have athletes from over 60 countries coming into Philadelphia race weekend. It is our largest race weekend. The marathon is up about 7,000 runners compared to last year. So we have a large amount of new runners coming in, but more marathon runners, half marathon runners, and 8K. Take part in those things during the week. We have a comedy night that's going to be coming up, a Run Laughter show where we have some comedies happening during the week. So we'll have a lot more activation. And thanks for bringing that up, Dakotah. And then even the speaker series. But we're going to be doing things at the Oval on Saturday that's a little bit different than what we've done in the past, where you'll get to see these folks here activating and being a part of some things that we do, feet on the street beats, and then also in the expo as well. So take a look at the Philadelphia Marathon app. It's on there now. It's probably not up to date with a ton of activation, but we will be adding activation in there as everybody moves through coming into race weekend, so you know what you can participate in.
Kathleen, as a runner yourself, what lessons that you learned in running has applied to help you be the best leader of the Philadelphia Marathon? So like visualization or other things that you have used from running to what you do in your career?
If running's taught me anything, it's taught me to be extremely disciplined. And when you organize an event of this size, you have to be disciplined and organized in that. But I have this view that's like a 30,000-foot view. And the same as you, Meb, I visualize all the time. I visualize what I'm putting on that day. I visualize what it's going to feel like to race. I visualize how I might feel afterwards, but how I'm going to feel during the race. But I have this view of the course. And I think, you all were talking about even Dakotah, like take a look at the race course. I think in helping to plan it as being an athlete is understanding what experience do I want as an athlete, and then bringing that to the Philadelphia Marathon weekend. And part of that in building this out, and Meb, you've been in there in the beginning, is we have these ambassadors. We have brand ambassadors. I helped to accelerate this race to where it is because I wanted everybody to feel like you had a friend in Philadelphia. As an athlete myself, I've traveled all over the world running just because my job took me into 15 different countries. So all of my 100 races, marathons, ultra marathons, triathlons, half Ironmans, I always, for the most part, traveled alone. And it's tough when you're traveling alone and not having anybody to go with. So I would go and look for run clubs. I would go to a store and try to meet people. But now I've tried to build an event where people can feel like there's a connection here. And that's probably one of the biggest things that has helped to grow this race is knowing how do we connect people, whether it's race weekend with all the different activations or having people like, like you coming here and being a part, and they see on the webinar, they hear, they're following Dakotah's journey, they're following Nathan's journey. All of a sudden, when you get here race weekend, you feel like you have a friend. And maybe you don't necessarily know them, but you definitely feel like, okay, I belong at this race. I'm ready for this race. And there's a comfort. And that's really what, for me, coming from a runner, is wanting to say, I went to that race. And from the minute I stepped foot on the land of wherever it was, I felt comfortable and I knew where I could go to get the things that I needed if I forgot something. I could go meet up with somebody. But like a lot of the research was done for me. So hopefully between now and race weekend, we'll be giving runners a lot of information so that when they get here, the anxiety level's gone down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, as far as the course itself, is there any spots where it's like, hey, if you have the energy, you're not too tired, definitely you should be paying attention to this particular thing.
Yeah, it's a net zero course, but I'll say the first 9 miles are fairly flat because they're in the historical older city. As you go west into Fairmount Park, you start to feel it closer to that mile 8, 9, slight incline, 9, 10, there's a hill. It's not one you're not going to get up. I mean, Dakotah's run this, like you're going to get up, but it's just, it's there. But at the same time, you have to turn around and come back down that hill. So anything that you're going up, you're coming back down. Which can be extremely helpful. I personally don't like pancake flat courses all the time because it's just mundane. That you're like, okay, having that shift helps me to shift my energy and helps me to shift my thought process too. So I would definitely say when you look at the miles 11, 12, actually 10 to 12, there's going to be some hills there. You're going to see it again probably for the marathon. You'll see it 14, 16 a little bit. And then there's an uphill 18 to 20, but then it comes down. And that uphill is just more of a gradual uphill, but you start to feel it. But you're also in the most vibrant part of the city called Manayunk for the marathon, where the crowd is just insane. I mean, it is a 2-mile stretch of human beings screaming at the top of their lungs, like you see in any other major marathon. And when you come off of that, it's hard. You come out of mile 21, and then you're like 22, 23. We've lined up cheer zones in this area now. But when you come off of that energy, you're like, okay, where's the energy? And you don't hear it again until 24, 25. But I would say, your back miles, do the homework, take a look at it, but you know that it's a net zero. So what goes up is going to come down. It's not like you're going to keep going up, 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 and then turn a different way and never come back down again. Great questions. Well, is there any other questions here? I have one quick question for everybody. How does everybody feel about trials coming up and the location?
I'm a quick answer to that one. It's, it's exciting for U.S. distance running. Both men and women, I think, is at its highest ever been. So as most of you know, it's top 3 who makes them men or women, and you have to have the time. So it's exciting. And, Nathan and Dakotah can answer on the specific who the competition is, but it's definitely exciting time to be for the U.S. distance running, and the depth is there, the competition is there, and the cream of the crop, and I'm just glad I'm retired.
I love to be warm and in warm weather, so I was really pulling for Phoenix, but I think St. Louis is going to pull off just an incredible race weekend. I know that what they've talked about has just been incredible, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing, but I'm just crossing my fingers for a warm weather day as a Midwest girl, and I know what March can be like here.
Nathan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just looking for the experience, for sure. Obviously, I want to be top three, represent the U.S. But there's only going to be three people who end up per gender who end up representing the country, and so it's like, what am I going to take away from the race if for some reason I can't pull that off? And St. Louis seems like a place where they're going to make sure to experience, whether it's the runners, the family, that they're going to do a good job with. And then on the other side, the competitive side, it's just, I mean, amazing. I don't know if I say amazing, but it is a great time to be a U.S. distance runner. If you're in it, if you're a spectator, it's amazing. If you're in it, you're like, oh my goodness, man, there are so many different people that I have to kind of match and be able to compete with on the day. And it just gets you really excited to say, hey, where can I make those jumps? How can I improve? Because where I'm at is not going to cut it. So how do I get to the spot where I'm going to be able to be ready and pull off something? And so that's super exciting as well. A couple more years, or like a year and 9 months, or I don't know, something like that. But anyways, yeah, should be super exciting. So.
Yeah, I'm a little bit bummed it's not in warm weather to Dakota, because then I was trying to line it up again with Running USA conference, because it was awesome to watch the last trials and be a part of it with the Running USA conference. But it's not happening, but I am excited to go out because it is one of my favorite events to watch and get to see you all doing your thing and out there, and being the spectator when I'm not on the production side is also I love being super fan, so that works too. With that, I'm going to close this out. I want to thank you all for being a part of this. This is just the first webinar series. We have a lot of pros that are with us this year. We actually have another webinar coming up next week where I'll actually be on with Lauren Fleshman and Jarrett Ward. We're going to talk a little bit about something different that we're doing in coaching this year, with not only our platform, but some of the plans and some ways that we're going to engage a little bit more. We have a coaches corner that's going to happen on Mondays with some articles that are coming out. We have a group that's going to be coming in through our broadcast channel. So tune in next week when we have Lauren and Jared to talk about that. And this group is going to get broken up. We'll see different aspects of you throughout the next few months, which I love, because this is our largest professional field that we've had as ambassadors. So that brings super exciting times for Philadelphia. And we end with the marathon, and Philadelphia's been amazing with not only FIFA's World Cup, but then we had Major League All-Star Game here. We have tennis. We have just a bunch of things happening in the city. So to kind of round us out with sports and the marathon weekend, and you all being a part of it's going to be amazing. For everybody that's tuned in, again, Philadelphia Marathon Weekend, November 20th to 22nd. We kick it off with the Expo on Friday. Stay tuned for times on that. Saturday is the Dietz and Watson Philadelphia Half Marathon at 7 a.m. Then at 11 a.m., the Rothman Orthopedic 8K. Sunday, we have our new title partner, TIAA Philadelphia Marathon, and then we have our kids run at 10. So I want to thank everybody. Until then, I'll see you guys. I'll talk soon. Stay safe, stay cool, have fun.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Keep up the great work that you do and your team, and great to be with you guys, and keep training smart.